Before I take the sediment. I'll now take the sediment of this meeting of the Clyde Valley Learning Development Joint Committee held on the 9th of June 2025. Councillors Andrew Anderson, Anne McTaggart and Francesca Brennan are present. Councillor Michael McBride is not present, and Councillor Gavin Keat is present. Thank you, and I'll pass you back to the convener for today's business.
Thank you very much, Stuart. I may resolve to your guidance. I'm not often entrusted chairing committees, so take from that what you will. I'll start with a declaration of interest. Do we have any declaration of interest? Perfect. And that'll take us to agenda item 2, the minutes of the previous meeting. And Stuart, I will take your guidance in this. It asked me to move the minutes as a correct record, but I wasn't in attendance. Am I still able to perform that?
I suppose technically it probably should be Councillor Brennan in that case. Yeah, that's well spotted from yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Councillor Brennan, can I ask you to move them?
Yeah, happy to move the minutes as a true record.
Perfect. And do we have a seconder for that?
I don't think I can. I'd sent my
Councillor
apology.
Anderson sent me to the can, so I'm happy to move them as a correct record then, if that's fine. And that takes us to agenda item 3, the revenue budget monitoring 25-26. And I believe I'm coming to Lorraine Hagan for the report.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Keats.
Thank you.
So agenda item 3 is on page 7 of your pack. It's the revenue budget monitoring. It's the first report for the current financial year 25-26. So you might recall back in March time when we set the budget for the year, we had an estimated budget of 71,000. That was including that Perth and Kinross has intimated to us that they would be joining the joint committee arrangements. So 71,000 in terms of membership amounts coming from the councils, and another 25,000 in terms of training expenditure and income. So that took us to a total expenditure and income budget of £96,000. The detail as at the 16th of May is on Appendix A to your report, which is on page 9. And that shows the spend budget of 96,000 and a controllable income budget of the same value. So that's the position in terms of our annual budget. We're also expecting full spend and full income recovery. And as at the 16th of May, we have actual spend of 13,000 and income of 33. So a net income position at that point. But as I say, we're fully expecting to spend our expenditure budget and gather the income in to fund that. And I'm really just looking then for the joint committee to note the member contributions and the income and expenditure budgets, and note the joint committee's break-even position as forecast for the year. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lorraine. Do we have any questions or comments on the report? Perfect. And are we happy to agree to note the report?
Agreed.
Thank you very much, Anne. And that takes us to agenda item 4. Lorraine, I'll come back to yourself for the annual governance statement, which is on pages 11 to 16.
Thank you. So the annual governance statement is, as the name suggests, a document that we bring to the Joint Committee every year in preparation for the completion of the annual accounts for that year. So we review the governance arrangements March into April time of the year. And section 4 just gives you a bit of detail there as to what we look at when we're doing that annual review. So we look at the systems of internal financial controls. We've got regular management information, financial regulations set in place. We've got admin procedures, including the segregation of duties between members of staff. If they're carrying out, for example, paying of invoices, we need to make sure there's a counter signatory there. We've got a scheme of delegation, and we've also got accountability measures in place within the Joint Committee. These arrangements are all akin to the systems of financial management in place within South Lanarkshire Council, the lead authority for the Joint Committee. Clyde Valley Learning and Development Joint Committee does share our financial management systems from South Lanarkshire Council, and therefore it's subject to the same system controls and operational controls that we have in place for the council systems. And therefore any internal audit work that's carried out through the kind of routine programme of work for the council is applicable to the Joint Committee systems. So although internal audit don't carry out any specific audit work on Clyde Valley, the work they do for the council can be translated over in effect in terms of the audit manager's annual assurance statement that she will present to the council's Risk and Audit Scrutiny Forum later this month. So in that respect, from my perspective, the opinion here is that we have a reasonable assurance that we can place on the adequacy and effectiveness of the committee's framework of governance risk management and control arrangements, and that's based on the work of internal audit, my own knowledge of the system, and the operations that we carry out within the operational side of personnel services who manage the work of the Joint Committee. So if I can take you back to section 2 and ask that you approve the following recommendation, which is that the annual governance statement in Appendix 1 be approved for inclusion in the Clyde Valley Learning and Development Joint Committee annual accounts for 2024-25. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Would anybody like to make any comments or questions? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for that, Lorraine. It's actually with regards to governance and with the heightened level of, we've all seen it recently in the news about cyber attacks. And I'd imagine, like, you know, your systems as well are significantly protected. But has there been any increased activity from, you know, South Lanarkshire in terms of awareness and making sure that, you know, people are aware of not clicking on things, etc. And you know, so just with regards to that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Councillor Anderson. And it is something that we're very well aware of. I work beside the head of IT who's in the office next door, and they're very much on top of what the requirements are. We have, as employees, we get regular emails around telling you to watch out for certain things, certain phishing, certain different types of emails that you might get on, and exactly as you say, don't click on anything, don't touch anything. So IT do as much as they can in terms of warding off or warning staff about what they should and shouldn't do, but also from the perspective of all the activities that they undertake. I'm relatively recently in this post, and I'm probably getting more exposed to the general discussion that the head of IT has with the other members of our finance and corporate resources management team about the things that they do. And it is quite extensive in terms of the work that they do. Maybe Pauline's probably got a better knowledge of that than I have from the audit perspective. But in terms of the activity that they carry out, the firewalls that they've got in place, all the kind of intelligence that they have about what's going on in the wider environment, you know, Marks and Spencer's issues and all of these other things that have come into play. So it is very interesting, but yeah, there's a lot of work goes on out there, and they do try to make staff regularly aware of any pitfalls or any things that you should or shouldn't do when you're working online.
I'd imagine they may well do what our guys do and try and catch you out as well, and send things as a kind of test email.
Well, and I hope not. I'm not aware of them doing that. I will investigate that one.
Effectively, it's something I was involved with myself in the past. You actually want to just find out who isn't, you know, really getting the training, or they're doing the training but not understanding exactly what they should and shouldn't do. And it's better that you know, your IT security people know about that weakness in advance, rather than so they send out like a mock email that's actually potentially what a hacker could send. And they'll be clever with social engineering as well, and you know, making it as, that's what they do, make it as convincing as possible. But what they're actually just trying to find out who maybe should do the training again, or you should do it every maybe year anyway, because you know these things change. They don't do that, no.
I'm not aware of that, and I certainly haven't been caught out, so that's good. But I'll ask the question of IT and see if that's something that they actually do, and I can let you know.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Anderson and Lorraine, for clarifying that. If there are no further questions, can I ask us to agree to approve the report? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Agreed.
Thank you. And that takes us to, sorry, Councillor McBride, I should have actually welcomed you at the meeting where I received your note that you're on attendance, so thank you very much. Agenda item number 5, which is pages 17 to 32, the annual audit plan, and I'm coming to Pauline Murray, I believe, for the report.
Yes, thanks, Convener. So I'll highlight a few key points from our annual audit plan for 24-25, which was previously circulated, so I'll take it as being read. But firstly, I confirm my independence, and that's at paragraph 3 on page 19 of your pack. Details in Exhibit 1 on page 22. We assess planning materiality in line with the ISAs. This is where we undertake a risk assessment, identify any potential areas of significant risk. So you'll see in Exhibit 2 on page 24 of the pack, our initial risk assessment has identified one significant audit risk, and that is fraud caused by management override of controls. which is, of course, a presumed risk across all audits, and we've outlined our planned response to this risk. Next, we've detailed the planned audit timetable in Exhibit 3 on page 28 of the pack. And then finally, if I can just highlight over the page on Exhibit 4 where we report our audit fee for the year. Thanks, Convener. I'm happy to take any questions.
No problem at all. Thank you very much, Pauline. Do we have any questions or comments for Pauline? No, none have been intimated. Can we agree to note the plan?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item number 6. I'm coming back to Lorraine for the unaudited annual accounts, which is a bit of a mouthful, actually, saying that out loud, on pages 33 to 60.
It is a bit of a mouthful. I'll try not to get myself tongue-tied. So agenda item 6 then is, as you say, the unaudited annual accounts, first and last time, for Clyde Valley for the full year to the 31st of March 2025. The simplest way to explain the accounts to you is really just to highlight the position that you're used to seeing in terms of a monitoring statement. So the accounts show that the Joint Committee had total revenue expenditure of 84,000 and had income of 99,000. So we had a £15,000 surplus at the end of the financial year. And that surplus will transfer to the balance sheet for use in future years. And that will take the reserves of the Joint Committee to 64,000. In terms of the accounts that sit behind that, they are normal, formulaic in terms of what we have to present. So it's what Pauline as our external auditor is expecting in terms of the format and layout. You've got a number of statements there in terms of technical accounting statements. So you've got your income and expenditure statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow, and then a variety of different notes which give you some information on a bit more detail, I suppose, information in terms of how we've spent certain elements of the budget that people have a key interest in. We've also got a management commentary that sits at the front of it, which was penned by Jerry, I think, before he left us. And it gives you a flavour of the operational activities that have been carried out by the Joint Committee over the past year. It gives you a high-level position in terms of the financials, and it just gives you a wee bit of detail about how things are moving forward and what they're looking to do moving forward as a Joint Committee. The other item that's quite chunky in there is the annual governance statement, which we have just approved for inclusion. So this will be, as a fact, what will go forward to Pauline from an external audit perspective. And that audit will take place over the next couple of months. So really, in terms of the recommendations for the report, I'm asking that the unaudited annual accounts be noted by yourselves, and that it also be noted that these annual accounts will be submitted to external auditor by the 30th of June in line with their timescales. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lynn. Do we have any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Chair. There was a question about the small surplus and it going into the reserve, Lorraine. I may have asked this before, or it might have been elsewhere I've asked it, but it's a question I ask about. So which reserve is that? I think it's a general fund reserve, which is actually like the council's reserve.
Absolutely, it's just the general fund, and it belongs to the councils that have put into the Joint Committee. So it's there for further use. So, for example, if this committee decided they wanted to do something specific with it moving forward, then that could come to the committee as a vote and an approval.
Because I'm just thinking about the future, because obviously we lost, I think, was it Perth and Kinross? You know, wanting to think about, hopefully we won't lose any others, but wanting to sustain the great work that's getting done. Yep. So that reserve has potentially, hopefully we won't need it, but it may be there in an instance where we want to maintain the level of service.
Yep.
That makes sense?
Yep, absolutely.
That's
ordinarily, sorry.
So it's available, yeah?
Yes, it's available. Ordinarily, what I would expect to see is that we set the expenditure based on the income that we get in. So people are giving us money and we would spend up to that level. In this instance, we haven't spent just as much in that last year, so we can take that money forward for general use, yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Larry. And Councillor McTaggart.
Thanks, Chair. Take you to page 39. Lorraine, it's just a question on that list that's there on page 39, I think it is. Is that an order of preference or time, or I'm just looking at investigating the use of artificial intelligence and learning and development. if it is like a preference, would we put that further up nearer the top or not?
I can't answer that in terms of priority because this was the part that Jerry would have written, I think. So I don't know, Tracy, if you get any knowledge of that. But the one thing I would say is this relates to the old financial year in terms of where they're saying they've looked at a number of these areas last year. So I don't know the outcome of that. But Tracy, is there anything you can add to that? Apologies, Councillor, I'm just not that close.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, no, just
I'm
to
just
come in on
moving
that.
forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It was last year. I don't believe it was done in order of preference. So we can look at that, but no.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you very much. If there are no further questions or comments, can I ask that we agree to note the report?
Agreed.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 7, which is changes in membership. The paper is 61 to 60, and I'm just looking to see if we can agree to note the report.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 8 is urgent business. No items of urgent business have been intimated, and with that, we should be coming to a close. Before I do, however, can I take the opportunity to thank Tracy for her contribution and for her work. I believe that you're moving away from the council, so in my capacity as interim convener, I'd wish you the best luck with everything that you're in. I'm more than happy to, if any other members would like to make any brief comments. Well, in my chair, I wish you the best with everything you're in.
Thank you.
Stuart, can I ask you to close the meeting and stop the recording? Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance.
Thank you, Convener.
Thanks.